Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Pavan.
And I'm Adam.
And today we're watching Mob Psycho 100 Season 1, Episode 7 called Exaltation I've Obtained Loss.
Last episode, we had Mob's brother, Ritsu. Look at me.
Shocker. Kageyama, which is also...
I'm glad everybody laughed about my Kageyama.
Me too. Thank you, everyone.
I always say if you can't laugh, what can you do?
But Ritsu, we kind of had an episode about him. So
He was more of the focus, yeah.
he joined experiment cult group,
Academy.
TBD, trying to get powers. And at the end of the episode, we saw a little something that possibly hinted at him having powers. We'll see how
He
that
was
plays out.
able to generate, it takes a lot more effort for him, but he's able to work something.
Yeah. So that was an interesting development. We also had him play a central role in absolutely embarrassing, I don't remember what his name is.
The gangster guy?
Yeah, the gangster guy. Who seemed like actually a good guy who had a 2-year non-late streak.
Oh my gosh, I loved that.
And that whole thing was kind of heartbreaking.
It's so middle school, which is
Yeah.
where they are. Like the peer pressure, the trying to fit in, you know, living up to people's expectations that you may look up to. And it's just like to see someone who, in Ritsu, who's very intelligent, who seems very confident, experience those moments of doubt, both in regard to acting on peer pressure and embarrassing someone who he did see kind of bullying Mob, so I think that influenced his decision, and then to feel left behind in his powers was just like...
Yeah, there were some interesting dynamics there, and I think this probably happens a lot where I think he started down that path for the right reasons in terms of protecting Mob, and then realized he took it too far. And actually realized pretty soon after it happened that he wasn't okay with what happened, and he felt bad about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're learning, you're doing things, you're not always gonna get it right. But
I think everybody does things at that age that they're not proud of later.
Yeah, I like the new dynamic though. I'm curious to see how this goes, and we're getting to know a few more characters a little more in depth, and it'll be interesting to see how they intermix and which ones stick around and what those dynamics look like. So far so good.
Are we gonna follow Mob? Are we gonna follow Ritsu? Are we gonna follow both this episode? Who knows?
Is Dimple coming back?
Adam asks that every episode. I think Dimple's done.
I'm gonna give it 2 more.
But Ritsu saw
Yes.
a ghost at the end,
Yeah.
or a fizzled spirit. So let's dive in. Mob Psycho 100, Season 1, Episode 7 is coming right now.
Dimple.
It is Dimple! White tea poison. Miso.
He's got a target on his back.
There's a lot of gangs in this town. Wow.
Some rough looking middle school kids.
I'm just stunned that that's Dimple. I thought he was just... Oh my gosh, okay, I'm so happy.
Me too.
低級霊は近づくことさえできなくなってるみたいだ。
なんだこの喋る醜いクラゲのようなものは。でも最優先にやるべきは。
握手か？
それしなきゃ。
的確に膝を入れるな。俺様茂雄のダチなんだぞ。
兄さんも
兄貴分と言っても過言じゃない。まあ今のはパニックってことで見逃してやるけども、それよりもだ。どうだいりっちゃんよ、俺様と組まねえか？
嫌だ。
早いな、ちょっと待って。話を聞いてくれ。お前さん超能力に目覚めたばかりだろ。
なんだと僕が超能力を。
俺様を死認できているのがその証拠だ。俺様はエクボ、俗に言う幽霊だ。
超能力っていうのはお前を視覚で捉える程度の力のことか。
おっとっと、使いこなす以前に自覚がないんだな。やってみな。今のお前ならできるはずだぜ。
期待しちゃダメだ。
どうした？
僕には届かない世界なんだから。
なんだこいつ、コンプレックスでも持ってたのか？まあ兄貴があれじゃしょうがねえか。
曲がらない。曲がらないじゃないか。
早まんな。
これは僕がやったのか。
No.
俺様と組め、りっちゃん。兄を超えたいと思わないか？
Whoa.
兄さん、そんな。
He knew exactly what button to push.
僕が兄さんに近づくことが。
俺様にその体を預ければな。
No. No, Dimple. Come on. We knew he always had ulterior motives, even with Mob, but he grew on me.
He needed to be with Ma because Ma was just like, no, no. But he found, I don't know if Ritsu's gonna do it, but he found the exact pressure point that will make him even consider this. Giving up your body, that's a steep trade. I wonder what that's like. Like, does he lose control? Is he...
Well, then it would come down to like Mob will have to exorcise Dimple from Ritsu, which would potentially hurt Ritsu, and then it's a whole dilemma. But
This is a slippery slope.
slippery slope. I feel like Ritsu's powers with the cutlery or silverware bending is always comes about when he like gives up.
Maybe.
Because when he was in the academy, he was trying, and then he gave up and ran away, and it was crumpled up. And then in this one, he was like, I just can't do it, and they were crumpled up.
Oh, I thought Dimple did that to try and make him believe that he did it to get in.
Oh.
That's how I read that situation.
But do you remember when he was in the academy and
yeah.
that happened, and he like was like, I can't do this, and he just like threw it, and then as he ran out, it was like...
Yeah. Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Was it Dimple?
I originally thought it was Dimple to make him believe so that he could kind of weasel his way in.
Dang, okay.
食欲ないみたい。どうしたのかしら、あの子。
いつ落ち込んでるの？
いや、妙に嬉しそうだったわね。
どうやったら力を自由に使いこなせるようになる？
説明するよりやってみた方が早いぜ、りっちゃん。
気安く呼ぶな。
オッケー。じゃあリッチでいいな。目を閉じて全身の力を抜きな。
Is he gonna try to possess him? Oh!
何？体を操作できない。
どこに消えた？エクボ。
俺様の霊力が弱まっているせいだ。ちしゃー。
I knew he was gonna possess him at the moment.
まるで英雄ね。
学園のヒーローだ。2年4組山崎君、ちょっと話がある。
あ？なんだよ。
ボタン外れてるよ。
だからなんだ。うるせえな。
使える。超能力が使えるよ。エクボ。
俺様が出力を調整してやってるおかげだが、もともとリツには超能力の才能が潜在してたんだ。それが表に出た原因は 俺様の推察だと感情に起因している。
Shocker.
最近強いストレスがかかる出来事があったか？大勢の前でうんこ漏らしたとか、女子更衣室覗いたのバレたとか。
あるわけないだろ。
Another version of the Korean Pocari sweat drink.
クソ真面目だな、リツは。そうか、優等生君なんだよな。じゃあ何か。
No, he's an overachiever in everything except
女
this.
子の体操着を盗んだって噂を聞いた。
何言ってんだお前。
そこで生徒会で調査したところ、どうだった影山君。山崎先輩のカバンの中から体操着が見つかりました。
Who put them there?
言い逃れできるならしてもいいけど無駄だと思うよ。今学内は特に変態に厳しい。一つだけ逃げ道を用意できる。鬼瓦に命令されてやったことなんだよな。
This guy has it out for him.
ボタン外れてるよ。
I don't like this guy.
見事に大掃除され、勉学において最適化された環境に変わった。しかし著しくモラルを欠いたその強硬策は巻き込んだ生徒たちの人生の歴史に深く黒い傷跡を残すことになった。実行者の2人はその重さを背負って生きていかなければならない。故に陶酔し錯覚の充実感を得るか苦しみ苦しんだ。
I understand not liking that kid, but do you remember what his brother said to him?
No.
His brother was like the super overachiever, and his brother was like, "You're basically a failure compared to me."
Correct. Yeah.
So like, I don't like what he's doing, but it's like, we
What is
talked
it?
about this last episode, just like when you have a high achieving older sibling, like what that does to you
Yeah.
psychologically if you aren't quite at the same level.
Yeah, I was. Took me a second to get on board with who you were talking about.
Oh.
Ritsu definitely seems like the kind of kid that this is gonna eat him up. About doing it the wrong way and feeling bad about hurting somebody or marring their chances. And I wonder if his powers are gonna manifest with negative emotion.
Well, haven't mobs so far too? Rage was one,
Yeah, true.
and then he was just getting beaten to a pulp the other time.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe it's just a motion period. I wonder if that has an effect on how the abilities manifest.
But it's interesting because Ritsu is a high achiever in almost everything, and like as we were saying, this is like the one area of his life that he's not, and he's like directly comparing himself to Mob. Maybe it will come out when he's feeling inadequate or inferior or guilty or something, and that's why his powers are like coming out, because he's feeling guilty about what he's doing at school.
Maybe. I'm curious to see how this plays out for him.
パワー増してるぜ、リツ。
背徳感、罪悪感、それが僕の力。
Corruption and guilt. There we go. Okay.
バッチリじゃねえの。相当心病んでる。
エクボ、お前はずっとうるさいな。
え？
もし僕がこの力を自分で操れたら、お前も消せるのか。
性格も変わってきちゃった。
Whoa. That was precise.
すごいよ、影山君。
まだやりますか。三浦さんの車でも二つ折りにしましょうか。
一体何があったんだ。
He got a dimple.
なんです先輩方。
カムロに聞くと証拠の裏付けはてめえに任せてるって話だ。お前が俺たちをはめたのか。
何を言ってるのかわかりませんが、エクボ、任せな。仮に何を言っても、もう遅い。
こいつ、なめやがって生意気なやつめ。
The kind in purple. Karate jab your throat.
That is a light Yagami laugh if I've ever
Yeah.
heard one.
すごくない？あの頭。本当だ。マジか。
Is he gonna get a warning from Teru?
ねえ、そこの君。
I wonder how his bald spot's doing.
あいつは
そのくらいにしておけ。依存すると痛い目を見るよ。君は勘違いをしている。自分が強く特別な存在だとね。過去の自分を見ているようで痛々しい。これは忠告だ。超能力に頼って生きようとするな。
超能力者の方ですか。何者か知りませんが、他人に忠告を受ける言われはない。
こいつには噛みつくな。勝てる相手じゃない。
どうせ覚醒ラボのメンバーと大差ないだろう。試しに力比べがしたい。
Does he still have his powers?
Yeah.
ご丁寧に握手をどうも。僕は花沢照樹だ。よろしく。立ってるのがやっとかな。若い若い。
I find this incredibly interesting. Right, so Teru used to be like him when he first got his power. And you know what? You have to think everybody who went through this, especially at that age, who found out they had some kind of powers, would use them for the wrong reasons at the beginning, for sure. I think almost to a T, everybody would do something like that. Try and get some kind of personal gain if you figured out that you could do things other people couldn't. I think that's a very natural feeling.
Whoa.
I'm not sure I can relate, but I hear what you're saying.
I love that we're seeing Mob's influence on Teru, like kind of changing the way he's approaching his life and doing that. And now he still fights with it because he shook his hand, he kind of did the comparison test. You could see it in his eyes. He wanted to like assert his dominance in that situation.
Is that what you perceived?
That's
I thought
what
he
I-
was trying to like not get control, but kind of warn Ritsu to be like, you don't want to do this.
Okay, interesting. I'm curious what other people think. I took it as like he grabbed his hand to show he was stronger and then kind of started slipping back into that mindset of I'm going to show you that I'm more powerful than you. But Dimple knows.
Was that a toupee, or did his bald head grow? Because it looked like he was trying to hold his hair on.
My first impression was he used his powers to grow a bigger piece of hair to compensate for the buzz cut that he got.
But he learned a lesson.
Yeah. And it seems like he's changed the way he's living his life.
And Mob made an impact by staying true to his values.
Yeah. We'll see what this encounter, what kind of effect it has on Ritsu.
But Ritsu identified early that corruption and guilt are the fuel for his powers, and the fact that he's leaning into doing things that bring up those emotions is very interesting to me. It's like the power is more important to him than living in accordance with what he believes to be right.
And how often do you think that happens for people?
すごく脳が発達していた。あれが強さの理由なのか。
いやありゃズラが馴染んでないだけ
Okay, good. It was awake.
被ってんのか知らんけど
悔しかった。兄さん以外に負けるなんて。エクボ、もっともっと力をつけたい。超能力でも誰にも負けないくらい。
僕、ちょっといいかしら。
There's a lot of weird people in this town who are stopping young boys on the street.
これが幸せの壺よ。高名な陶芸家が念を込めて作ったご利益の高い壺で、家に置いておくだけで持ち主に幸せが訪れるの。本当は250万円だけど、僕には特別に80万円だ。
You're asking a kid for
そん
that?
なお金ないです。
じゃあ50万円に負けてあげる。
いや、50万円も持ってないです。
あれば買うのね。じゃあお母さん呼んでみてくれる？
お母さんも買わないと思いますけど。
あ、この子いけるわ。ねえ、ちょっと触って。ほら、ここザラザラして気持ちいいでしょ？
いや、
ほら。
よくわからないです。
Is there a genie inside?
危な。
何？気をつけてね。あ、割った。
今のは。
あ？人のせいにするの？
いや。
ねえ僕、 お金で解決できる問題はまだマシなの。わかる？
Lots of slimy people
Oh my
in
goodness.
Seasoning City.
電話持ってる？持ってない。いいタイミングで鳴ったな。出なよ。
何やってんだモブ。もうお客さんが来るってのに俺を呼び出すなんて。
この坊やの保護者かあんた。
なるほど。
A shyster recognizes a shyster.
モブが終わったのか？
なんだって？おい、世間知らずの兄ちゃんよ。働けなくしてやろうか。
いた！探すに指いっちゃった。これ治療費かかっちゃうよ。治療費、慰謝料込みで100万円。
避けてんのか、このボケガス。
はい、今ので精神的ダメージ。慰謝料プラス100万円。息が臭い。慰謝料プラス100万円。声がでかい。慰謝料プラス100万円。あ、ワイシャツほつれてる。弁償代プラス100万円。これで壺の代金チャラになるな。お前らがやっているのはこういうことだ。行くぞ、モル。
このまま返すかよ。
諦めなさい。幸せの壺を割った時点で不幸になるのは決まったのよ。
災いが降りかかるかもな。
不幸？災い？実は俺もさっきまで悪霊に取りつかれた人と話してて、彼女曰く取りつく先を俺に変えたらしい。そうなると毎晩変な音が聞こえたり、写真に何か写ったりと災難が絶えないそうだ。今度はお前らにくっついたかもしれないな。夜には気をつけろよ。
あ？幽霊？
いい気分しないだろ。お前らがやっているのはこういうことだ。
幽霊で脅して勝つか。
Reagan's first move at potentially redeeming himself for me.
When dealing with somebody like that, bring in somebody who's better at their own game. The ringer.
The original shyster, as Adam says.
I actually kind of love that. Psychological damage, 1 million yen. Afraid my suit, another million.
Your insurance should pay for it. I want to know who's going to pay for this. I spilled beer all over when that car smashed into me. Who's going to pay my cleaning bill?
I was so suspicious of this woman. I'm like, is this another cult invitation? But of course she invited a kid, because kids break things.
Yeah. There are a lot of interesting kind of people and interactions in their neighborhood, it seems like.
Yeah, Seasoning City is a real interesting place.
最後の起点はなかなか良かったぞ。建物を揺らしてビビらせただろ。
いや、あれは本当に師匠からあの二人に悪霊が
Came out of the broken balls of happiness.
もちろん見えてたけどな。
それにしても詐欺師っていうものは最低ですね。
そうだな。人の物を
Totally.
握って陥れようなんてのは最低のやつがやることだ。
何？君たちもか？
はい、君もゴミなのかって。授業中にガム噛んでただけなのに。
カムロ、学校はお前のものじゃないぞ。まだ小さなゴミが残ってる。テキパキ。
まだ続けるんですか？
まさか。やめたいって言うんじゃないだろうね。
いや、ただヘドが出るなぁと思いまして。ただのストレス発散でしょう。
協力者に君を選んでよかった。分かってたならなぜ協力してくれたんだ？
飽きたから。自分に飽きたからですかね。ただなんとなく愚かな自分を感じてみたかった。
愚か者ね。だが結局は人気者だ。我々は学校のヒーローになったんだよ。
人気者になりたかったのか、あの老け顔は。
Right? All of the lines.
大きな世界を手に入れた。
そういや部長、テレパシー使いは見つかったんですか？
見つかってたらこんなとこにいないわよ。って犬か。そこに爆弾置くのは反則よ。
倉田、ちょっと静かにしてもらえるか。まだこいつとの話が終わってないんだ。
あ、ごめんなさい。
武蔵、もういいよ。 いいわけあるか。ふぬけるな。授業に出ろ鬼瓦。
居場所がねえんだよ。仲間たちももう俺と口聞いてくれねえし。
お客さん生徒会長。
噂に聞いた通り腐った空間だな。それよりもなんでいるのかな鬼瓦君。出席しないで校内に侵入と。
違う。うちにいるとおふくろに理由を聞かれるから。聞いてくれ生徒会長。鬼瓦は何もやってないんだ。
君たちも鬼瓦の取り巻きということでそれなりの処分をさせてもらおうか。
会長、ちょっと正門前に変な人が来てるんですけど。
やれやれ、いいところで水を差された
な。なんだ貴様ら。俺は白 T ポイズンを出せと言ったはずだが。
白 T ポイズンなんだそれは。
とぼけるな。今や不良中の噂だ。
I love how he referred himself as a thug.
それで解決する。
驚いたな。
今のは正当防衛ですよ。それに他校
Slippery
の生
slope.
徒だし関係ない。
Don't use your powers against people.
彼が
Ritsu.
するなんて。しかもあんなに強かったのか。
おい、剣崎さんをやったのはお前だな。お前が白 T ポイズン。
Oh dear.
何よ、僕は見てただけ。じゃ
あ誰が白 T ポイズンだよ。
知らない。
What goes around comes around.
Now he wants to stop.
Yeah.
Now that something bad happened to him.
There's always someone bigger and badder than you
Bigger
are.
and badder.
It's bigger. It's badder.
Somebody from another school. Those are always the worst dust-ups.
How many dust-ups did you get in?
Not a lot, but you heard about them.
Yeah, I heard about them. I never witnessed one. I was always being very studious.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
There's no way you were involved in any dust-ups. You were the most...
One.
Okay.
But I think I didn't really get involved. I was just there.
What happened?
People like to have me around because I was tall.
Adam's just here for reinforcement for optics.
Yeah, I'm here for optics.
So what happened?
It wasn't on school property, but we were at like a house party.
Oh, Adam's a party animal. I wasn't. Shocker.
And there were just like 3 pickup trucks worth of kids who showed up at the house from another school. And
Uninvited guests. And Adam just stood on the porch with his arms crossed.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. That was not my life. That was not my experience in high school. I don't think I was allowed to go to parties.
It started because this is gonna make me sound real bumpkin, but there was a fight at the like
The fact that you said bumpkin gave that away, but
at the fair. So one of my buddies got into it with another guy, clearly over a girl. So things kind of escalated after that.
oh.
Who are you texting? Who are you texting?
But
Yeah.
Ritsu, he's gonna have to go through some difficulties if he's gonna come out of this.
I think Mob's gonna find out.
I'm surprised they're living in the same house. I'm surprised that Mob isn't getting that like aura, you know?
He's probably not even thinking about it. He's kind of in his own head a lot. I think it's gonna be Mob that sits him down. But
I think Ritsu's gonna take credit for being white tea poison. And then he's gonna get in over his head because then all these guys are gonna come after him because he's proclaimed himself to be white tea poison. And then Mob is then gonna find out and have to come rescue him. And then there's gonna be conflict between them because Ritsu will feel inadequate. Story over.
yeah, I was gonna say, just like Sarah always says, when I do that, there's no need to watch the next episode.
Everyone's like, it's actually the complete opposite. Like every time you speak. Okay.
ひどい顔ですね。昨日君が他校の番長を懲らしめたせいで僕にまで被害が波及したんだぞ。分かっているのか。
It sucks to be picked on, doesn't it?
自業自得でしょ。
また。
お前が白 T ポイズン。
Mayo.
What goes around comes around.
徳川君か。真治は誰とも会いたくないそうだ。
そうですか。ひどいゴミ部屋だ。掃除が必要なのはこの部屋だったんじゃないですか。
どうやってここに。
学校に
I
は
floated.
小さなゴミがたくさん残ってますよ。
僕はもう手を引く。出ていけ。
もう遅い。僕たちはお互い許されないことをした。もう誰も助けてくれない。区靴が壊れた。学校はこれで綺麗になった。
これからどうする気だ。また他校の連中が言いがかりをつけてくるぞ。
どうとでもできる。この力さえあれば。
おお、スーパースターになれるぜ。
エクボ、お前も僕を利用しようとしてるんだろ。
何言ってんだよ、エルちゃんよ。相棒だろうが。
Well, the gangs are coming together. That's massive. That was like me.
Whoa, he is.
何事かと思ったら案の定。
お前が花沢と剣崎を倒した白 T ポイズンだって。
影山のふりをしているのか。
あなたたちの相手が終われば一段落つきそうだし、そういうことでいいですよ。
これは影山本人に聞く必要がありそうだな。
Not the way I thought he'd find out.
面白いところに出くわしたようだ。発見した。回収して帰る。の前に。
This what we saw this guy.
Yeah.
はい、それではどうぞ。
おまんな、ビビってんじゃねえ。動け。
強めに行くぞ。
俺に手品は通じんぞ。白 T ポイズン。
Adam down.
白 T ポイズンがやってるのか。ひりむね。一撃浴びせて畳みかけろ。
僕はあなたたちを軽蔑しない。今ならわかるからだ。人が不意に道理を外れるその時、大概そこに理由はない。今だってそうだ。戦意喪失の敵に歩み寄る。暴力のために進む。そこに理由はない。こういう自由は強い。あなたたちよりも僕の方が自由なんだ。なぜか。制限を喪失したからだ。喪失を手に入れたからだ。リツ、何やってんの？
I'm curious how Mob is gonna handle this.
Well, I threw out like the longest prediction of all time, but now I'm like, is this gonna be brother versus brother, good versus evil?
I don't think Ritsu is.
Not that he's evil, but like.
No, but unsalvageable. I think Mob will understand because he went through and did things with his power, albeit his were probably unintentional. They're still brothers, and Mob is going to feel a huge sense of responsibility to Ritsu. So I think he's going to kind of give him a pass, but lay down the law in terms of like, you can't do that.
Will that work though? He just stated, I am moving forward for the sake of violence. Like, I've lost my morality. Almost. I know he didn't say that, but.
I think they're really young. And I don't think, like, he hasn't lost his morality for the rest of his life. He's on a.
No, but he's aware of what
Yeah.
he's doing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's aware that he's choosing to move forward down the right path for the sake of power.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just happening to him. Like, he knows and he's making the choice to do what he's doing. So does that make it better or worse? The fact that he's aware and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep going.
I mean, I think it makes it worse, but I think he can still make good decisions moving forward with like somebody to lay it out. Like, hey, here's what having powers means. This is what you have to do.
I'm curious how Mob is gonna react.
Yeah.
Very interesting that Teru went and told Mob.
Do you think he realized Ritsu was his brother? Or do you think he
No,
went to
probably
tell
not.
him because he was impersonating? Like, he went to tell Mob, hey, this guy with powers is telling people he did what you did. Like, you should deal with this.
Probably that.
So then he was surprised to find out Ritsu was the one who was there.
Also, we saw the guy with the hoodie Was that when Mob and Ritsu were together? No, Mob was with the telepath girl.
Trying to find other
Trying
experts,
to find other
yeah.
ones, and he was there.
Yeah.
So do you think he's mistaking Ritsu for Mob? Or do you think he's like, I found another one?
Not sure.
This is getting interesting.
I'm liking the intertwining characters and the dynamic with Ritsu and how different people use powers, and I'm kind of glad that Teru is back. It was interesting to kind of see that shift.
Yeah.
So.
Dimple's back, same as ever.
And I love that the Body Improvement Club was protecting
Onigawara.
Yeah, I was just gonna call him Oikawa, but
we're sticking with the names we know here, everybody, okay?
You know, he said he wanted to join the club and they were so inclusive, and then they were sticking up for him as well. Like, he didn't do this. That group of guys just seems like top notch.
But even the fact that Ritsu kind of like identified his like partner in crime as the bad guy. It's like, you're both a little maligned here.
No, but I don't think he was saying it was just him. It was like, we've both done things we shouldn't do.
Yeah, he said that, but he's like, now that you're out of the way.
Yeah. Here comes the character stuff for you.
Yeah. And at that age, it's just like interesting how quickly people can change to fit in or try to get what they want or justify certain things. Like, Ritsu's going through it.
Yeah. The reasoning, who you are, none of that's in place.
I like
Good one.
Good one. Let us know your thoughts. This is much improved. It's definitely on that upward trajectory, you know what I'm saying? So hit us up in the comments below, and as always, we would be so excited if you would like this video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for more Mob Psycho 100 coming next week. Bye!